They called me a poor village boy. But no one expected how I would outsmart the richest girl in the school and change everything. My name is Emmanuel. I was born in a small village called Aroko, a place where mornings smelled of dust and roasted corn. Our house was old and small, built with weak blocks that had cracks like tired faces. When rain fell, water entered our room, and my mother would place buckets on the floor while smiling like nothing was wrong. My father repaired bicycles under a mango tree close to the market. His hands were always dark with oil, but whenever he touched my head, they felt warm and safe. We were poor. Very poor. But my parents never allowed poverty to enter my mind. Every morning before school, my mother would say, "My son, your brain is richer than gold." Those words stayed with me. I walked barefoot to school many times, holding my books tied to my chest like they were treasures. I loved learning. Numbers made sense to me. Words danced in my head. Even when my stomach hurt from hunger, my mind stayed sharp. At night, when there was no light, I read under the moon. I used charcoal to solve math on the floor. Sometimes, I slept on my books because I was too tired to move. I dreamed of a better life, not just for me, but for my parents. I wanted to build them a strong house where rain would never enter. One afternoon, everything changed. A man from the city arrived on a motorcycle. He asked for my name. He gave me a white envelope. My hands shook when I opened it. Inside was a letter saying I had gained admission into Bright Future College, one of the best and most expensive schools in the city, with a full scholarship because of my intelligence. My father sat down slowly like his legs had stopped walking. My mother screamed and cried at the same time. Neighbors gathered. That night, we prayed until sleep took us. But inside my heart, fear lived with joy. I was going to the city, and I did not know what was waiting for me there. If you're just seeing this channel for the first time, please support me by subscribing to this channel, like, comment and share. And don't forget to hit the notification button to get notified each time I drop a new video for you. The day I left Aroko was heavy in my heart. The morning sun was soft, but my chest felt tight. My mother packed my few clothes inside an old bag. She added roasted groundnuts wrapped in paper and pressed them into my hand. For the journey, she said, even though we both knew it would not be enough. My father walked me to the bus stop. He did not talk much. When the bus arrived, he hugged me hard and whispered, "Remember who you are. Don't let anyone make you feel small." As the bus moved, I watched my village fade away. The trees, the red sand, the familiar faces, all disappeared. I was going to the city for the first time. My heart beat fast with fear and hope fighting inside me. When I reached the city, everything looked big. The roads were wide. Cars moved fast. Tall buildings touched the sky. Bright Future College stood behind a tall gate with shining letters. I swallowed hard and walked in. Students were everywhere. Some laughed loudly. Some used phones I had only seen on TV. Their uniforms were neat and new. My own uniform was clean, but old. I felt different the moment I stepped in. I kept my head down. In the classroom, I chose a seat at the back. I did not want attention. But attention found me. Some students looked at my bag and shoes and smiled in a way that was not friendly. I heard whispers. My ears burned, but I stayed quiet. Then the teacher came in. He greeted us and started the lesson. He asked a hard question in mathematics. The room became quiet. No hands went up. My heart beat fast. I remembered my nights under the moon. Slowly, I raised my hand. The teacher pointed at me. When I answered, the room fell silent. The teacher's eyes widened. "Excellent," he said. "Very correct." Some students clapped. Others frowned. That was when I felt it, a change in the air. After class, some students came to greet me. Others walked away. And across the room, I noticed a girl staring at me. She was beautiful, well-dressed, and confident. Her name, I would later learn, was Lara. She did not smile. I did not know it then, but that look was the beginning of my first real conflict in the city, a conflict that would test my courage, my heart, and everything I believed about myself. The next few days at Bright Future College felt like walking on broken glass. I tried to mind my business, but I could feel eyes on me everywhere I went. Some students greeted me with smiles and asked for help with homework. Others looked at me like I was an error that should not be there. I kept telling myself that I was here to learn, not to please anyone. Lara made her move on the third day. We were in English class when the teacher asked us to read aloud. When it was my turn, I stood up and read slowly and clearly. I loved reading. Words made me feel safe. When I finished, the teacher nodded with approval. Before I could sit down, Lara laughed. "Sir," she said loudly, "maybe he reads well because he reads under a kerosene lamp in his village every night." The class burst into laughter. My face burned. My hands shook. I wanted the ground to open and swallow me. The teacher warned her to keep quiet, but the damage was already done. From that day, Lara did not stop. She mocked my shoes, my bag, and my accent. She called me village boy and scholarship child. Each word felt like a stone thrown at my heart. But I did not answer back. I remembered my father's words. I focused on my books. Ironically, the more Lara tried to bring me down, the more teachers noticed me. They praised my work. They asked me to represent the class in competitions. Students started coming to me for help. This made Lara angry. One afternoon, I heard her talking to her friends. "People like him should know their place," she said. "This school is not for poor people." I pretended not to hear, but the words stayed in my head all night. That evening, alone in my hostel room, I cried quietly. I miss my village. I miss my mother's voice. I asked myself if I really belonged here. But then I opened my books. I studied until sleep took me. I did not know it yet, but Lara's hatred was only the beginning. A bigger problem was growing slowly, waiting for the right time to rise. Life at Bright Future College slowly became a test of my heart. Every day, I woke up early, washed my uniform carefully, and prayed silently before leaving the hostel. I walked through the school gate with mixed feelings. Part of me felt proud to be there. Another part felt like an outsider trying to survive in a world that was not built for him. Lara's behavior did not change. In fact, it became worse. She found joy in making me uncomfortable. During group work, she made sure nobody sat with me. During lunch, she laughed loudly whenever I brought out my simple food. Once, she poured water close to my feet and said, "Careful, village boy, don't spoil the floor." The laughter that followed hurt more than her words. But something strange happened. The more she tried to break me, the stronger I became in class. Teachers trusted me. One of them, Mr. Sola, asked me to help weaker students after school. I agreed, even though it meant studying longer hours. Knowledge felt like my shield. One afternoon, as I was teaching a small group of students, Lara walked past and stopped. She looked surprised. She stood there quietly, watching me explain math in a simple way. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away and walked off. That moment confused me. That night, while lying on my bed, I wondered why she looked different for that brief second. But I pushed the thought away. I told myself never to expect kindness from someone who enjoyed my pain. I did not know then that this was the first small crack in the wall she had built around her heart. The first major exam of the term came faster than expected. The whole school was tense. Students read everywhere, under trees, in corridors, even while walking. I studied harder than ever. I remembered my parents' sacrifices and told myself failure was not an option. When the results came out, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. I was the best student in my class. Whispers filled the air. Some students clapped. Others looked shocked. Lara was not among the top students. In fact, her score was low. Very low. The next day, something terrible happened. During lunch break, a teacher called my name and asked me to follow him. We walked to the principal's office. My legs felt weak. Inside the office were two teachers and the principal. Their faces were serious. I was accused of cheating. They said someone reported that I had access to exam questions before the test. My head spun. I could not speak at first. Then I told them the truth. I explained how I studied. I begged them to check my records. My hands shook as I spoke. They told me to leave and wait. That night was the longest night of my life. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I imagined myself being sent back to Aroko in shame. I imagined my parents' broken hearts. Behind the scenes, I did not know that Lara's careless words to her friends had helped start the rumor. The investigation lasted days. Days filled with fear. Students whispered when I passed. Some avoided me. Others stared like I was already guilty. I walked alone, carrying a heavy heart. Then the truth came out. My past records were checked. My notebooks were reviewed. My teachers defended me. They saw my consistency. The principal called me again. I was innocent. The school cleared my name publicly during assembly. The principal praised my discipline and intelligence. Some students clapped loudly. Others looked ashamed. As I stood there, I saw Lara. Her face was pale. She did not clap. She did not smile. Later that day, I saw her crying alone behind the library. For the first time, she looked small and scared. I walked past, then stopped. My heart struggled between anger and kindness. Finally, I turned back. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. She looked up, shocked. Tears filled her eyes. She did not answer. She only nodded slowly. That was the first time she did not look at me with pride or hatred. That was the first time she looked human. Days passed, and Lara changed. She stopped mocking me. She avoided eye contact at first. Then one afternoon, she surprised me. She came to where I was sitting and spoke quietly. "Can you help me with math?" I was shocked. This was the girl who once laughed at my poverty. I nodded. We started studying together after school. At first, it was awkward. She struggled with focus. She gave up easily. But I was patient. I explained slowly. I encouraged her. Slowly, she improved. As weeks passed, something unexpected happened. She began to smile when she saw me. She defended me when others spoke badly. She shared her food with me without making it obvious. One rainy afternoon, we were alone in the classroom, waiting for the rain to stop. She looked at me and said softly, "I was wrong about you." My heart skipped. She told me about the pressure from her parents. About always needing to be the best. About hiding behind pride. I listened. That day, friendship was born. Just when life started feeling better, a new conflict appeared. Lara's parents found out she was spending time with me. They did not like it. They warned her strongly. They said I was not from her class. They said love did not pay school fees. They told her to choose. Lara came to school quiet and distant. She avoided me. My heart broke silently. I understood her pain, so I did not force her. One afternoon, she stopped me. "I don't want to lose you," she said, tears in her eyes. At that moment, I knew our journey was far from over. After Lara told me she did not want to lose me, my heart felt both warm and heavy. Warm because someone like her cared about me. Heavy because I knew the world she came from was not kind to people like me. From that day, we moved carefully around each other, like two people walking on thin ice. We still studied together, but we talked less in public. Her parents' warning had put fear inside her, and I could see it in her eyes. At the same time, school pressure increased. Final term was approaching, and teachers expected more from me than ever. Some students began to complain quietly. They said teachers favored me too much. They said a scholarship boy was taking opportunities meant for others. I heard these things, but I stayed silent. Silence had become my shield. Then another problem came. One morning, my name was missing from the scholarship list on the notice board. I stood there staring, thinking my eyes were wrong. Other students saw it too. Whispers started again. Someone laughed and said, maybe they finally found out he doesn't belong. My hands shook as I went to the office. The staff told me to wait. Hours passed. Fear sat beside me like an unwanted friend. If I lost the scholarship, I would be forced to leave the school. My parents could never afford the fees. That evening, I did not study. I prayed. I remembered my village. I remembered my promise. The next day, the school announced it was a review error. My scholarship was restored. But the damage was done. I knew now that success made enemies. And sadly, one of them was closer than I thought. A week later, I found out the truth. A boy named Toby, who always competed with me in class, had written a false complaint. He said I was rude, proud, and disrespectful. He said I thought I was better than everyone. The school believed him for a moment because he came from a powerful family. That hurt me deeply. I had worked so hard to stay humble. Yet lies almost destroyed me. Lara found me sitting alone under a tree after school. I was tired, not just in body, but in soul. Why does this keep happening to you? She asked softly. I smiled sadly. Maybe some people don't like light. It shows their shadows. She looked at me with new respect. That day, she made a decision. She stopped hiding our friendship. She sat with me openly. She greeted me first in class. People noticed. Rumors spread again, but this time, I did not feel alone. However, this choice brought her pain at home. Her parents became stricter. They reduced her freedom. They warned her again. You must choose your future, her father said. And for the first time, Lara cried in my arms. As exams drew closer, the pressure became intense. Students read day and night. Teachers warned us that only the best would get recommendations for future opportunities. Lara and I studied together more than ever. We pushed each other. When I felt weak, she encouraged me. When she felt tired, I reminded her of how far she had come. Slowly, something beautiful happened. She became one of the best students in class. Teachers praised her improvement. Students respected her effort. Even her parents noticed the change. They saw her grades rise. They saw her discipline grow. But pride is hard to kill. One evening, her father called me. He spoke calmly, but his words were heavy. I hear you are close to my daughter. I want to know your plans. I told him the truth. I spoke of education, hard work, and dreams. I did not beg. I did not boast. He listened quietly. That night, I did not know if I had passed or failed his test. Exams finally arrived. Those days felt like war. My heart beat fast in every exam hall. But once I saw the questions, calm entered me. I answered with confidence. I remembered my nights under the moon. I remembered my parents. Lara also did well. I saw her smile after exams. Hope lived again in her eyes. When results were released, the school gathered everyone. The principal smiled broadly. Lara and I were among the top students. The hall erupted in applause. Her father stood up slowly and clapped. That was when I knew something had changed. Graduation day came with sunshine and joy. I wore my uniform proudly. My parents came from Morocco, wearing simple clothes and big smiles. When my name was called, my mother cried openly. My father lifted his hands in thanks. Lara stood beside me. No fear. No shame. Later, under the same tree where she once mocked me, she held my hand. You changed my life, she said. I smiled. You walked the journey with me. We were no longer a rich girl and a poor boy. We were two souls who chose growth, love, and truth. And that choice changed everything. After graduation day, life did not suddenly become easy. Many people think success ends problems, but I learned that success only changes the kind of problems you face. Lara and I were now openly together, but the world still watched us closely. Some people smiled at us, but others waited for us to fail. I returned to Aroko briefly to rest before the next phase of my life. When I arrived, the village welcomed me like a hero. Children followed me around. Old men shook my hand. My parents looked taller than before, as if pride had added inches to their bodies. One evening, while sitting outside our house, my father spoke softly. "My son, love is good, but never let it stop your growth." I understood him. He was reminding me that I still had a long road ahead. Back in the city, Lara faced her own storm. Her parents wanted her to attend a foreign preparatory school. It was expensive and far away. They believed distance would separate us. When she told me, my heart sank. I did not shout. I did not beg her to stay. I only told her, "Whatever you choose, choose it with peace." That night, she cried. She told me she was tired of living a life decided by others. For the first time, she stood up to her parents. She told them she wanted to remain, to grow at her pace, to follow her dream. It was not easy. There were tears. There were arguments. But something had changed, her voice was strong. Watching her fight for herself made me proud. Love was no longer just emotion. It had become courage. While Lara battled at home, I faced my own test. I applied for another scholarship, one that would determine my future. Thousands applied. Only a few would be chosen. During the interview, I was asked about my background. I spoke about Aroko, about poverty, about nights without light. Some interviewers looked uncomfortable. Others looked impressed. Then came the waiting. Days passed. Weeks passed. Doubt tried to return. I remembered the false accusations, the near expulsion, the hatred. I asked myself if the world would ever truly accept someone like me. One afternoon, a message arrived. I had been selected. I screamed. I laughed. I cried. When I told Lara, she hugged me tightly. "I always knew," she said. That moment felt like victory, not just for me, but for every child who had ever been told they were too poor to dream. Lara's parents finally invited me again. This time, the meeting was different. They asked about my plans, my values, and my respect for education. I answered calmly. I did not pretend to be rich. I did not hide my past. Her mother sighed. "You are not what we expected," she said. Her father nodded. "But you are what effort looks like." They did not bless us with sweet words, but they stopped standing in our way. That alone felt like freedom. Years later, I stood on a bigger stage, receiving another award. My parents sat in the front row. Lara sat beside them, smiling. We had both grown, stronger, wiser, calmer. Life was still challenging, but fear no longer ruled us. I often returned to Aroko. I spoke to children. I told them my story in simple words. I told them intelligence is powerful, but discipline is stronger. I told them love should lift you, not cage you. Today, when I look back, I smile. I was once a poor village boy mocked in a big school. I was once accused falsely. I was once told I did not belong. But I stayed. I learned. I loved it. I grew. Lara and I did not succeed because we were rich or lucky. We succeeded because we chose patience, effort, and courage. And this is why I tell my story. So that someone listening right now will believe your background does not define your ending. Your pain can become your power. And your story is still being written. The end. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, like, share, and comment on this video. Also hit the notification button to get notified each time I drop an interesting story for you. Thanks for watching.